Admiral Thomas Richardson rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the massive holographic display floating in the bridge of the ESS Titan. The blue light from the projection cast strange shadows across his weathered face. What his crew had just discovered would change humanity's future forever. "Admiral, you need to see these readings again," Lieutenant Rachel Anderson called from her station. Her fingers danced across the control panel, bringing up new data streams. The energy output from these structures is off the charts. Before them, stretching as far as their sensors could detect, stood an artificial barrier of interconnected platforms and satellites. Each platform glowed with a faint purple light, marking the edge of what appeared to be civilized space. The structures were clearly not natural. Their perfect geometric patterns spoke of an advanced civilization. "How long has this been here?" Richardson asked, walking over to Anderson's station. The young lieutenant's usual confident expression had been replaced with wonder and concern. "Based on the dust patterns and energy signatures, sir." She paused, double-checking her calculations. "These structures are at least 50,000 years old." Richardson let out a low whistle. When humanity had begun its expansion into deep space 20 years ago, they had found plenty of signs of ancient civilizations, abandoned outposts, empty space stations, and mysterious artifacts. But nothing like this. Nothing still active and functioning after so many millennia. "Sir," called out Officer Mark Thompson from the communication station, "we're receiving a transmission. It's, well, you should hear this." The bridge speakers crackled to life, and a mechanical voice spoke in perfect English. "ATTNTION UNREGISTRED species. UAKVENTRED regulated space. This is Automated Defense Network Designation 7249B of the Galactic Council. Sees all FORDUARD PROGRESS INMMEDIA Retrieve behind DTE Marquis de Biondera or FAC Immediate Defensive Action. The bridge crew fell silent. After years of searching for alien life, they had finally found it, and it was telling them to go home. "How are they speaking English?" Richardson demanded. Dr. Brian Walker, the ship's xenolinguist, spoke up from his station. "They're not, sir. The message is being actively translated. The system is scanning our communications and adapting in real time. This technology, it's incredible." Richardson turned to the tactical station. "Laura, what are we looking at in terms of defensive capabilities?" Lieutenant Laura Phillips looked up from her screens, her face pale. "Sir, I'm detecting enough firepower in just one of those platforms to vaporize a small moon. And there are thousands of them, possibly millions, stretching in every direction." Richardson walked back to the center of the bridge, his mind racing. Humanity had come too far to turn back now. Their colonies needed room to expand, and their resources were stretched thin. Retreat wasn't an option, but challenging this defense network head-on would be suicide. "Anderson," he called out, "I want every piece of data you can get on those platforms. Energy signatures, composition, transmission patterns, everything. Walker, keep analyzing those translations. There might be clues about who built this thing. Phillips, start mapping every gap in their coverage, no matter how small." The Admiral activated his command chair's communication panel. "Richardson to Earth Command. Priority 1 transmission." The response was immediate. "This is Earth Command. Go ahead, Admiral." "We've made first contact with an organized galactic civilization," he reported, watching as another warning flashed across the main display. "But there's a problem. They've built a wall, and they want us to stay behind it." There was a long pause before Earth Command responded. "Understanding living beings is one thing, Admiral, but understanding their machines, that's something humanity has always been good at. Hold position and continue gathering data. We'll brief the Security Council immediately." As Richardson acknowledged the order, he couldn't help but smile. The Galactic Council, whoever they were, had just made a crucial mistake. They had showed humanity a wall and told them they couldn't climb it. And if there was one thing humans loved more than exploring, it was finding ways around obstacles that others considered unbeatable. All stations, Richardson announced, settle in for a long shift. We're about to make history, one way or another. Around him, the crew of the ESS Titan returned to their work with renewed purpose. The game had changed, but humanity wasn't about to forfeit. They had just found their biggest challenge yet, and their biggest opportunity. High Commissioner Maxwell Peterson straightened his dark blue uniform as he walked into the massive dome-shaped chamber. The Galactic Council's meeting hall was designed to humble visitors, and it was working. The ceiling stretched so high it disappeared into darkness, and the walls glowed with a soft, pearl-like light. Around him, beings from 100 different worlds sat in rising tiers of seats. Some floated in bubbles of special gas. Others stayed in tanks of liquid. A few were just clouds of light. Peterson had spent weeks preparing for this moment, but nothing could have truly prepared him for the sight of so many alien species in one place. The representatives from Earth may approach, boomed a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Peterson and his team of 5 walked forward, their footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. At the center of the chamber sat the High Council, the oldest and most powerful members of galactic society. Their leader, a tall being with crystalline skin, looked down at the humans with all 4 of its eyes. "We have reviewed your credentials," the crystal being said, its words automatically translated by the chamber systems. "Earth is primitive by our standards. You have barely mastered faster than light travel. Your colonies number less than 50. You still use physical bodies for computation. Why do you dare to challenge the boundary?" Peterson kept his voice steady. "With respect, Earth and her colonies need room to grow. We've discovered 15 of our planned expansion zones lie beyond your defense network. We request permission to—" "Denied," interrupted another council member. "This one a swirling mass of green gas. The boundary exists for a reason. Young species must prove themselves before joining galactic society. Return in 1,000 years, perhaps." Peterson felt his face grow hot, but he maintained his diplomatic smile. "Maybe we could discuss a compromise. Earth is willing to share its technological developments." Laughter echoed through the chamber. Not human laughter. Some chirped, others rumbled, a few sounded like breaking glass. The crystal being raised a hand for silence. "Share developments. With us." The crystal being's voice carried what could only be amusement. "Young one, our defense network has stood for 50,000 years. It was old when your species was learning to make fire. What could you possibly teach us?" From behind Peterson, Dr. Kate Wilson, Earth's chief scientist, stepped forward. "Our scans show your defense network still uses quantum-locked patterns from its original construction. No updates, no improvements. Just the same technology, running the same way. For 50,000 years." The chamber grew very quiet. "You dare criticize," began the green gas being, but Peterson cut in. "Humanity has a saying," he said clearly. "If it's not broken, break it anyway, and build something better. We've advanced more in the past 100 years than in all our previous history. We don't believe in letting things stay the same." The crystal being leaned forward. "Is that a threat, Earth diplomat?" "No," Peterson said calmly. "It's a warning. You've told us we can't expand beyond your boundary. You've dismissed us as primitive. You've refused to negotiate. That's fine. But understand this. Humans don't like being told what they can't do. It makes us creative. You have one standard rotation to begin your retreat," the crystal being announced. "After that, the defense network will consider any human ships beyond the boundary as hostile. This audience is over." As Peterson and his team were led out of the chamber, his assistant, Jack Roberts, whispered, "Sir, was it wise to challenge them like that?" Peterson waited until they were back in their ship before answering. "They're not used to being challenged, Jack. Did you notice? No weapons in the chamber, no guards. They rely completely on their ancient defense network. They've forgotten how to handle real threats. He pulled out his communicator. Peterson to Earth Command. The Council is exactly what we expected, arrogant, stagnant, and overconfident. They've given us one day before they label us hostile. Understood, Commissioner, came the reply. Admiral Richardson's team has already found 3 weaknesses in the network. Dr. Matthews says she can have the bypass ready in 12 hours. Should we proceed? Peterson looked out the viewport at the glittering spires of the Council's capital world. Yes, it's time to show the galaxy that humanity doesn't take well to being called primitive. Let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget. As their ship broke orbit, Peterson thought about the crystal being's dismissive laughter. Soon, very soon, the Galactic Council would learn that sometimes the most dangerous species were the ones you underestimated. Dr. Emily Matthews hadn't slept in 36 hours, but she couldn't stop now. Her lab aboard the research station Europa 7 was covered in holographic displays showing the alien defense network's schematics. Coffee cups littered her desk, and her red hair was messier than usual. Run the simulation again, she told her computer. Focus on power distribution node Alpha 6. Next to her, Captain James Cooper of the ESS Nighthawk watched as the simulation played out. His stealth ship had spent the last week sneaking close to the defense platforms, gathering vital data. Look at that. Emily pointed to a pulsing pattern in the energy flow. Every 6 hours, the whole network syncs up, just like clockwork. They never changed the timing in 50,000 years. Because it worked, Cooper said, leaning closer to the display. No one ever got past it, so why change it? Emily smiled. Exactly. That's their weakness. They stopped thinking. They stopped improving. She pulled up another display. See these gaps in the coverage? They're tiny, just a few seconds long. But they're perfectly predictable. The lab doors slid open, and Technical Officer Paul Baker rushed in. Dr. Matthews, the quantum probe just sent back its results. You need to see this. Emily quickly loaded the new data. Her eyes widened. Oh, this is beautiful. This is perfect. Want to share with the class, Doc? Cooper asked, raising an eyebrow. Emily's fingers flew across her keyboard. The network's quantum shields are impressive. For 50,000 years ago. But they're based on simple quantum-locked states. We cracked those patterns 20 years ago, when we were developing our first FTL drives. She brought up a new simulation. Look what happens when we apply our modern quantum phasing technology. The simulation showed a human ship approaching the defense network. As it reached the barrier, instead of bouncing off or being destroyed, the ship seemed to simply slip through. Is that possible? Cooper asked, his voice quiet with awe. Not only possible, Emily grinned, but we can do it right now. The Nighthawk already has the required systems. You just need a software update. Cooper stared at her. My ship can just walk right through their unbeatable defense network. Like a ghost through a wall, Emily confirmed. But that's not even the best part. She pulled up another display. Paul, show him what you found. Paul stepped forward, his face excited. The network's control systems are ancient, Captain. They're complex, but they follow basic patterns we've seen in other alien tech. Give us access to one platform, and we can crack their entire command structure. You mean we could control it? Cooper asked. We could shut it down, Emily corrected. All of it. Every platform, every shield, every weapon. 50,000 years of Galactic Council defense, gone with a push of a button. Cooper whistled low. They're not going to like that. They don't have to like it, Emily said, saving her data. They just have to learn from it. Maybe this will wake them up. Show them that standing still means falling behind. She opened a communication channel. Dr. Matthews to Admiral Richardson. The analysis is complete. We can breach the network at will. Better yet, We can control it. Richardson's voice came back clear and strong. How soon can you be ready? Emily looked at her team, saw the determination in their faces. The software updates are ready now. We just need to upload them to the fleet. Give us 6 hours to run final checks, and we can begin whenever you give the order. Good work, Doctor, Richardson said. I'll inform Earth Command. Be ready. When we move fast. After the communication ended, Cooper turned to Emily. The Council thinks we're primitive because we're young. But we've learned more in 100 years than they have in 50,000. Emily nodded, already starting the software distribution to the fleet. That's the difference between us and them, Captain. They built something perfect and stopped. We know nothing's ever perfect. There's always room for improvement. She looked at the simulation one last time, watching the ghostly ship pass through the supposedly impenetrable barrier. Soon, very soon, the Galactic Council would learn what happened when you underestimated humanity's drive to overcome any obstacle. Paul, she called out, start the final checks. Captain, get your ship ready. In 6 hours, we're going to rewrite history. Around her, the lab burst into activity. Humanity's moment was coming, and they would be ready. The Council's perfect defense was about to meet humanity's perfect counter, the unstoppable drive to improve, adapt, and overcome. General Michael Harrison stood before Earth's Security Council in the underground chamber of New Geneva. The room was silent except for the soft hum of holographic displays showing the alien defense network. 50 of Earth's most powerful leaders sat around the circular table, their faces lit by the blue glow of the holograms. Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison began, we have a choice to make. In 5 hours, the Galactic Council's deadline expires. They expect us to retreat. Instead, I propose we show them exactly what humanity can do. Director Elizabeth Parker of Earth Intelligence stood up next to him. Her gray suit matched her steel gray hair, and her voice was clear and strong. Our agents have studied the Council's communications for the past week. They've grown lazy, comfortable. They haven't fought a real war in thousands of years. She pressed a button, and new images appeared. Look at their worlds. Their ships. Everything is automated. Everything runs on ancient programs. They've forgotten how to think for themselves. But their weapons are still powerful, said one council member. Their defense network could destroy our entire fleet. Harrison smiled. That's what they think too. That's why this will work. He nodded to his assistant, who distributed data tablets to everyone. Dr. Matthews and her team have found a way through their defenses. Not just through them. We can control them. The room burst into excited whispers. Harrison waited for quiet before continuing. Here's the plan. Captain Cooper's ship, the Nighthawk, will slip through their defenses using our new quantum phase technology. Once inside, Lieutenant Miller's cyber warfare team will take control of their command systems. Within 1 hour, we can shut down their entire network. And then, asked the council president, leaning forward. And then, Director Parker took over. We show them true strength. Not the strength of ancient machines, but the strength of human innovation. We position our fleet around their key worlds, not to attack, but to prove we could if we wanted to. Another council member stood up. This is risky. If we fail, we'll be at war with the entire galaxy. If we retreat, Harrison countered, we'll be giving up our future. Our colonies need room to grow. Our people need resources. The Council has had 50,000 years to share the galaxy. They chose to build walls instead. The room grew quiet as everyone considered the options. Harrison looked at each face, seeing the mix of fear and determination. There's something else you should know, Director Parker added. We've decoded more of their historical records. The Council hasn't admitted a new species to their ranks in 10,000 years. They turned away dozens of races, forced them to stay behind their wall, until they gave up and died out. They're not protectors. They're bullies. The council president stood up slowly. General Harrison, in your professional opinion, what are our chances of success? Harrison straightened his back. Sir, Dr. Matthews has tested her bypass system 100 times. It worked every time. The Council's greatest weakness is their belief that their old technology cannot be beaten. They're about to learn that humanity's greatest strength is proving the impossible possible. The President looked around the room. We'll put it to a vote. But before we do, I want to make something clear. This isn't just about our colonies or our resources. This is about humanity's place in the galaxy. We can either retreat and accept their limits, or we can show them that humanity doesn't accept artificial boundaries. The vote took less than 5 minutes. The decision was unanimous. General Harrison, the President announced, you have your authorization. Director Parker, begin the operation. Let's show the Galactic Council what happens when they underestimate Earth. Harrison nodded and opened his comlink. Harrison to all commands. Operation Ghost Walk is approved. Begin final preparations. We move in 4 hours. As the council members filed out, Director Parker joined Harrison at the holographic display. Ready to make history, General. Harrison watched the simulation of Earth's fleet moving through the supposedly impenetrable barrier. You know what I love about humans, Elizabeth. We see a wall. We don't just try to climb it. We find a way to walk right through it. And then, Parker added with a smile, we teach others how to build better walls. Exactly, Harrison said. It's time the galaxy learned that progress doesn't stop just because you found something that works. There's always a better way. Humanity's about to teach that lesson to the entire galaxy. Commander Robert Turner stood on the bridge of the ESS Nighthawk, watching the massive alien defense network shimmer before them. His ship was running dark, with only essential systems powered. Behind him, Lieutenant Diana Miller and her cyber warfare team worked at their stations, their faces lit by screen glow. All systems ready, Commander, Captain Cooper reported from his pilot's seat. Dr. Matthews' quantum phase system is online. Turner nodded. Remember everyone, we're making history today. Lieutenant Miller, is your team prepared? Diana looked up from her console, her dark eyes focused. Yes, sir. The moment we're through, we'll begin the hack. The Council won't know what hit them. All ships report ready, Communications Officer Amy Taylor announced. The fleet is in position, waiting for our signal. Turner took a deep breath. Send the message. Operation Ghost Walk is go. The Nighthawk moved forward silently. As they approached the barrier, Turner felt his heart pound. 50,000 years of alien technology stood before them. No one had ever breached it. Quantum phase engaging in 3, 2, 1. Cooper counted down. The view outside shimmered like heat waves on a summer day. The mighty defense platform loomed closer. There was no turning back now. Brace for impact, Turner said automatically, though Dr. Matthews had assured them there would be none. The Nighthawk passed through the barrier like it wasn't there. We're through, Cooper exclaimed. No alarms, no response from the defense network. We're inside their perimeter. Turner allowed himself a small smile. Lieutenant Miller, you're up. Show us what Earth's best hackers can do. Diana's team sprang into action. Their fingers flew across keyboards as they connected to the nearest defense platform systems. Sir, this is amazing, Diana said, her eyes wide. Their security is complex, but completely unchanged. It's like breaking into a house where they never changed the locks. Minutes ticked by as her team worked. Turner watched the defense platforms, expecting them to come alive at any moment. But they stayed quiet, their ancient systems oblivious to the intruders among them. I've got it, Diana suddenly shouted. We're in their command network, starting download of control protocols now. Turner opened a channel to the waiting fleet. Ghost Walk 1 to all ships. Phase technology is confirmed effective. Stand by for network breach. Diana's voice was tight with excitement. Sir, we have full control. I can shut down the entire network on your command. Show me, Turner ordered. Diana pressed a few keys. On the main screen, a massive map appeared showing thousands of defense platforms. Each one glowed with a purple light. Watch this, sir. She pressed one final key. Across the map, platform after platform went dark. The mighty defense network, pride of the Galactic Council, was being turned off like lights in an empty room. Reading total shutdown of all defense platforms in this sector, reported the science officer, Frank Watson. No signs of automated recovery systems. They're completely blind. Turner opened a general broadcast channel. All ships. This is Ghost Walk 1. The path is clear. Begin operation, wake-up call. Outside the viewport, space itself seemed to ripple as hundreds of human ships phased through the now useless barrier. The fleet moved with perfect precision, each ship heading to its assigned position around key council worlds. Sir, Amy called out, we're getting panic signals from council worlds. They've just realized their defense network is down. They're asking what's happening. Turner smiled. Send them this message. From the primitive humans to the Galactic Council, your wall just met humanity's drive to innovate. We suggest you reconsider our request for negotiations. Diana looked up from her station. Sir, incoming transmission from Earth Command. General Harrison says to tell you mission accomplished. The galaxy just got a lesson in human ingenuity. Turner watched as more ships appeared, taking up positions around the Council's worlds. In just 1 hour, humanity had done what no species had managed in 50,000 years. They hadn't just defeated the defense network, they had rendered it obsolete. Send word to all ships, Turner ordered. Hold positions but do not power weapons. We're here to teach a lesson, not start a war. As the crew carried out his orders, Turner thought about the Council's dismissal of humanity as primitive. They had forgotten the most important lesson in the universe. The most dangerous species weren't the ones with the biggest guns or the oldest technology. The most dangerous species were the ones who never stopped trying to do better. Admiral Thomas Richardson watched from the bridge of the ESS Titan as the last of Earth's ships took their positions. Around every major council world, human vessels hung in space like silent guardians. The mighty defense network that had stood for 50,000 years was now nothing more than dead metal floating in space. Status report, he ordered. Colonel Foster's fleet is in position around the council capital. Lieutenant Anderson reported. All ships report ready. The council's own defense ships are staying in their ports. They haven't launched a single vessel. Richardson smiled. They were scared, and they had every right to be. In 1 hour, humanity had done what countless civilizations had failed to do in 50,000 years. Sir, Communications Officer John Wright called out. The Council is broadcasting on all frequencies. They're demanding to know how we breached their defenses. Put them on screen, Richardson ordered. The crystal being appeared, all 4 eyes wide with what looked like fear. Behind it, other council members moved in panic. How? The crystal being demanded. How did you primitive? How did you do this? Richardson stood up straight. We did it because you told us we couldn't. You called us primitive because we're young. But youth means we haven't forgotten how to learn, how to improve, how to think in new ways. He gestured to a nearby screen showing the dead defense network. Your perfect system had one flaw. It was perfect 50,000 years ago. While you were standing still, humanity kept moving forward. You could destroy our worlds, another council member, the green gas being, said. We could, Richardson agreed. But that's not why we're here. Look at our ships. Notice anything? The council members looked confused. Our weapons aren't powered up, Richardson explained. We're not here to destroy. We're here to teach. You built walls to keep the galaxy divided. We're here to show you a better way. He nodded to Anderson, who pressed a button. On every council world, huge holographic displays appeared in the sky, showing Dr. Matthews' analysis of their defense network. These are the flaws we found, Richardson continued. The weaknesses that 50,000 years of standing still created. But we're also showing you how to fix them, how to make them better. The crystal being's eyes widened further. You're giving us the solution. That's what humans do, Richardson said. We don't just overcome obstacles. We learn from them. We improve them. We share what we learn so everyone can be better. He pressed another button, and new images appeared. These are designs for a new defense network, one that combines your experience with our innovation. Together, we could build something better than either of us could create alone. The council chamber fell silent. Richardson could see them looking at the designs, at the dead platforms, at the human ships that could have destroyed them, but chose not to. You have a choice, Richardson continued. You can keep seeing us as primitives to be kept out, or you can accept that sometimes the youngest species have the most to teach. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to help improve it. Lieutenant Anderson spoke up. Sir, we're getting responses from council member worlds. They're voting to overrule the High Council. They want to negotiate. The crystal being seemed to deflate slightly. Perhaps we have been still for too long. Your demonstration is convincing. Then let's talk, Richardson said. Not as rulers and primitives, but as equals. Both sides have something to offer. Both sides have something to learn. He turned to his crew. Send word to all ships. Power down to minimal operations. Show them we mean what we say. Across space, the lights on Earth's ships dimmed. They stayed in position. But now they were clearly peaceful watchers rather than threatening invaders. The Council accepts your offer of negotiation, the crystal being said finally. And we acknowledge that perhaps some change is needed. Richardson nodded. That's all we ask. A chance to prove that progress doesn't stop just because something works. There's always room for improvement. As the transmission ended, Anderson turned to him. Sir, Earth Command reports all objectives achieved. Operation Wake Up Call is a complete success. Richardson looked out at the stars, at the mix of human and alien ships now moving peacefully through space. No, Lieutenant. Success will be when we help them build something better than walls. Something that brings the galaxy together instead of keeping it apart. He smiled. After all, that's what humans do best. We don't just break down barriers. We help build better ones. High Commissioner Maxwell Peterson walked into the Galactic Council chamber for the second time, but everything was different now. Where before there had been dismissal and arrogance, now there was respect in the aliens' eyes, or whatever they used for eyes. The chamber had changed too. Human technicians worked alongside council engineers, installing new systems. Dr. Emily Matthews stood at a central platform, explaining the improvements to a group of fascinated alien scientists. The human delegation may approach, the crystal being announced, but its voice was warmer now. Though perhaps we should say, our new partners may approach. Peterson smiled as he led his team forward. Behind him, Admiral Richardson and General Harrison walked with confident steps. Dr. Matthews joined them, her tablet displaying the final plans for the new defense network. 1 week ago, the crystal being began. We called you primitive. We told you to wait 1,000 years. It paused, its crystalline surface catching the light. We were wrong. We all had something to learn, Peterson replied diplomatically. Your defense network protected the galaxy for 50,000 years. That's not nothing. But it could have been better, another council member, a being of pure energy, added. We stopped trying to improve. We forgot that standing still means falling behind. Dr. Matthews stepped forward, her red hair now neatly brushed. The new network will combine the best of both our technologies. Your experience with long-term stability, our drive for constant improvement. It will adapt, learn, grow. She activated a hologram showing the new design. The old purple barriers were replaced with shifting walls of blue and gold energy. And this time, it won't be about keeping species out. It will be about protecting them while they grow. The Council has voted, the crystal being announced. Earth is granted full membership with all rights and privileges. Furthermore, we request that humans lead the reformation of our defense forces. Admiral Richardson raised an eyebrow. Lead the reformation. Your ships proved something incredible, the energy being explained. Not just that you could defeat our defenses, but that you chose not to use that power for destruction. You chose to teach rather than conquer. General Harrison nodded. That's the real strength of humanity. Not that we can break down walls, but that we know when to build bridges instead. There will be changes, Peterson said firmly. No more turning away young species. No more artificial boundaries to growth. The galaxy is big enough for everyone if we work together. The crystal being's surface rippled in what they now knew was a sign of agreement. Already your example has sparked change. Our member worlds are reopening their research centers. Species we turned away are being contacted for new negotiations. Dr. Matthews looked up from her tablet. The first section of the new network is ready for testing. Would the Council like to do the honors? The chamber moved to the vast observation window. Outside, a section of the old defense network hung dark and lifeless. Below it, a new platform glowed with blue-gold light. Together, human and alien hands activated the new system. The lights spread like flowing water, creating not a wall, but a shield that sparkled with constant movement and change. Beautiful, the energy being whispered. Like the galaxy itself, always moving, always changing. Peterson looked at his team. The scientist who cracked the code, the admiral who led the fleet, the general who planned the strategy. They had done more than just prove humanity's worth. They had awakened an entire galaxy from its long sleep. This is just the beginning, he said. There's so much we can learn from each other, so many ways we can improve together. The crystal being turned all four eyes to him. You taught us the most important lesson of all. It's not about how long you've existed or how powerful your technology is. It's about never stopping, never settling, always pushing forward. As they watched, more sections of the new network came online, spreading across the stars like a wave of change. Earth ships and council vessels moved together, a dance of old and new, experience and innovation. To the future, Peterson said, raising a hand in the human gesture of toast. The council members made their own gestures of agreement, each in their own way. The galaxy was changing, awakening, growing. And humanity, the young race that refused to be called primitive, had lit the spark. The crystal being's voice carried through the chamber one last time. To never standing still again.